final tips for Tuesday's AQA Literature Paper 2 exam. In Section A, you'll be presented with 2 questions and need to answer just one of them. Don't choose the one you think is easiest, but choose the question you feel you can answer with a conceptualized response, a line of argument which progresses throughout your answer. Let's look at an example with a question on an inspector calls. How does Priestley explore the importance of social class in the play? Well, we could write a disjointed answer with lots of different points. Edna is working class and is mistreated by the Burlings. Gerald is upper class and is looked up to by Mr. Burling. Eva was working class and her treatment by those in the higher social classes led to her death. And all of these would be accurate points to make, but there's no sense of cohesion or progression in the answer. It would just consist of random, isolated points that are basically repeating the same idea time and time again. No, what we're looking for is an overarching line of argument to explore. We want to build an essay rather than just show the same skills time and time again. So maybe Priestley not only critiques the social class system through the experiences and attitudes of his characters, but also illustrates the potential for moral awakening and improvement within the middle and upper classes. And there we have a concept, our idea, which the rest of the answer will explore. And if we were to work on this idea, we might spend the first half of our answer looking at how Priestley critiques the social class system, and the second half looking at how Priestley illustrates the capacity for improvement within the middle and upper classes. An answer built on this premise would demonstrate a conceptualized understanding of the text. I'd not just be showing an understanding of the characters and plot, but of themes and ideas too. Similarly, when it comes to the anthology poetry, think carefully about your second poem, choosing one that allows advancement of argument. Let me explain. Rather than just essentially writing the same thing again and again in different ways, we want to present a structured line of argument in our answer. What do I mean? Well, imagine this question. Compare how poets present power in Ozymandias and one other poem. So the way I would approach this question is I would reread the named poem, pen in hand, annotating it with anything I think is important in terms of the question, so in this case power. Now for Ozymandias, I might pick out the use of the sonnet form and how it reflects Ozymandias' self-love and perception of his own power, and I might pick out the religious language of King of Kings and make a similar point. So in terms of power, here is someone who thinks they are absolutely all-powerful. But it's also clear that sense of power is misguided. For a start, the statue now stands crumbled and in the middle of nowhere, and the way the poem's a sonnet but one which is continually adapting and changing, lacking consistency, reflects how power is not absolute, but is transitory and open to change. So that rereading of the named poem would give me my concept that Ozymandias presents someone who thinks they are all-powerful, but shows how that sense of power is an illusion. It will not last. Now with that in mind, I'll then turn back a page where I've got a list of the poem titles and browse through each one by one, considering which poem to compare with that line of argument. And I think my best bet will be My Last Duchess, where the Duke has a sense of power reflected through the use of the dramatic monologue form, where he's the only one speaking and the listener remains silent throughout, but that sense of power is undermined throughout the poem by the fact that it's one long stanza filled with enjambment. It's as if the Duke can't control what he's saying, he's just blurting out all this information. And now I have my line of argument. Both Ozymandias and My Last Duchess present speakers who believe they're powerful, but ultimately the reader learns that this sense of power is an illusion. And that's again a 2-part line of argument. I'm going to perhaps spend the first half of my answer looking at that sense of power, and the second half looking at how that power is an illusion. Everything in my answer then becomes part of the theory or idea I'm exploring, and it's not all just repeating one point over and over again. So for AO1, that conceptualized response is likely to come out of a careful choice of second poem, reading the named poem with the question in mind, and then choosing a second poem that connects well with that. For unseen poetry, it's a simple tip but a good one. Read the questions before looking at the poems, because the wording of the question is AQA's way of hinting at what the poems are about. It's a bit like with your anthology poems. If you're studying power and conflict, then you know what to focus on when you read those poems, the ideas of power and conflict. Your focus is narrowed in on the relevant theme, and it's the same with unseen poems. The wording of the question will show you what themes to focus on when you read the poems. Also, manage your timing carefully. Whilst you could easily spend longer on the last question, you must not do so. The first unseen poetry question is worth 24 marks, and the second one, even though you're comparing two poems in it, is only worth 8. So you should spend around 35 minutes on the first unseen poetry question and around 10 minutes on the second. Now, in this last couple of days of revision, do check out my videos, in particular my 5-minute animated analysis videos on each of the power and conflict poems. And if you found the video useful, please do subscribe to the channel.